Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on August 25th, 2023 at approximately 4:20 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the precise tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the exact philosophies I personally guide my day-to-day life by. With this in mind, the tools that we're talking about today and the topics we're covering are literally ones that have worked for me quite well and for thousands of other people I've handed them off to. Now, before I get into anything, right off the bat, we have Joe is in the house with the gold, and Steve has come in with the silver, followed immediately thereafter by Eternity with the bronze. Now, I'm just looking at this, Joe, and it's like right off the bat, I'm getting a stupid email scam that says iCloud storage 46 full. Well, that's a cute thought. Now please tell me you didn't respond to that. Because I'll tell you, things like that, first thing you always do when you see something that looks a little odd, check where you just hold the mouse over top of the email, over the address, and find out where it came from. In any event, you never hit the hot link. Now, knowing you, Joe, you certainly didn't make that mistake. Now I figured, let's take a look at energy flow and get things working really quick. Okay, or more to the point, really efficiently. You may be able to hear somebody outside. Little Munchkin out there is not at all happy. Okay, but energy flow, let's start with the beginning of it. All energy starts up here. Now you can call it the etheric plane. You can call it your higher self, God, your guardian angel. Doesn't matter what you want to call it. Glad to hear it, Joe. Yeah, something like, when I get something like that, I literally dump it into the trash and then empty the trash bin right away. That way it cuts down on the possibility of a problem. And that's why I check where it came from first. I got one the other day that looked really authentic coming from TELUS. Or coming from the bank. Only I didn't like it. So I didn't hit the link. I just went to the bank and said, okay, what's this? Got it all straightened out, that sort of thing. And what the heck is all that? Every now and again, I'll get distracted by something that just doesn't add up for me. Let's pray I don't drop this on my lap. Dust mites are a pain in the neck on occasion, in case you hadn't noticed. Okay. Well, that was different. Anyway, that's how I usually deal with that. And what do we got? We have Shadow and Sun in with honorable mention. How you doing there, Shadow? Now, where do we go here? Shadow's the first one through the door, so this is the link to Shadow's live stream. We pop that in. When you get a chance, guys, drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, absolutely give him a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it. And Matt Geek, and you're in. How you doing? Yeah, Joe, I'd be really curious myself, if I were into that side of it at all, of contacting whoever you contact regarding cloud storage. You contact them directly and ask what the situation is, because they may have some fascinating information for you. Now, like I said, energy starts off here, comes down into the mental world, into your mind, into the logical brain, and the feeling one. Now, there's a very simple philosophy of life I live by. When your mind can conceive it and your heart can believe it, then you can achieve it. That's why you have the three-way connection, and it pops out on the fourth. And bear in mind, 3 is the number of creativity, 4 is the number of foundation. What you do with it once you've got it into the physical world, that's what we're here to look at. Okay, now, there are only 3 laws we worry about. Well, there's only 3 laws I worry about. Okay, and if you compare all of the laws, whether they are religious laws, spiritual ones, legal laws, personal choices, your call. Check and see if they fit in these 3. And these are the karmic laws I live by. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. Okay, now on their own, they're all very important. But when you put all 3 together, you're looking at the effects of a 3-legged stool. Okay, each one being equally important. If any one of them falls short, the stool falls over. Now we're going to take this back a bit further. Okay, and yes, I'm going to go down a religious road for half a minute. Okay, because if you are Christian and you follow the Bible at all, okay, when you take a look at the book of Exodus, it will tell you that nobody saw the first set of commandments that came down off the hill. I cannot prove this, okay, but it tells you right in chapter 1 or chapter 2 of Exodus that Moses brought these tablets down and he held them close to his chest. He never even got to his brother. He was so disgusted with the way mankind was behaving. He took the 2 of the tablets he was holding and shattered them on the ground. Nobody ever saw them. Now, I can tell you, I cannot prove it, but I am an absolute fervent believer that the laws that were on the original tablets were not 10 in number. They were 3. Okay? Be true to yourself first. Now, if you're following that line of reasoning, God gave everyone free will. He gave you the freedom to choose right from wrong, good from evil. He did not give you freedom from consequence. Okay, so absolutely follow your heart. Let us not forget, God made man in God's own image. But this is inside and out. This is why mankind has the option has the ability of working with what we call 0-point energy. And I'll get to that in a little bit. Okay, but when Moses brought those laws down, 3 laws. Be true to yourself first. Okay, so like I said, follow your heart, but use your head to get there. Okay, once you've got that in mind, okay, you've got the thought, then bring it into the physical world. And that's where this idea of the list comes in. Okay, take any goal you've got, break it down in simple form, but you start with taking that idea, put one task, doesn't matter what it is, one task on your sheet of paper. Okay, make sure that you, where possible, break it down into 15-minute to half-hour jobs. Now, what do we got here? Just making sure I don't screw something up here and miss things. Okay, what have I got? Now, with that in mind, okay, I've got this neat little idea here of you take a sheet of paper, put one task down. Now, I've got a whole pile of things on the go. Right now, I've got this sitting here. Before I go any further down that road, tonight we are looking at energy flow. Tomorrow, well, can't read that from over there, but I can certainly pick it up. Pick that up from over there, bring it over here. Oh, yes. Tomorrow we are going to be looking at emotional overload and how to deal with that. As in, how do you cope with the idea of all of a sudden so much emotion is coming in? If you're empathic, you already know what I'm referring to, but it all comes in at once. Suddenly you either burst into laughter or break down in tears at not necessarily the most appropriate time. But we'll get into that tomorrow. It does link directly to energy flow, by the way. Now, one other little detail, and I've shown you this before, at least if you've listened in on this stream at all. Okay, take your hands, palms towards each other, about a quarter inch, maybe half an inch apart. Okay, and just concentrate for a moment. You will feel an energy flow between them. Now, bear in mind, energy flows both directions. Bioenergy does. Electricity, if you want to flow the other direction, you have to switch the wiring around. Don't ask me how to do that. Okay, that's just not a good option for me. Okay, karmic law number 2. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. This means if you desire to be treated honestly, if you desire people to be honest with you, be absolutely dead honest with them. Now understand, honesty does not mean you tell them everything, because there is not a soul in existence that can possibly tell you everything they're doing. They will have to omit some of it. For instance, if you were to ask me what I'm doing right now, okay, I can tell you I'm sitting here talking to you, quite frankly, in a bit of a soliloquy. Yes, it gets a little screwy on occasion, but, okay, I'll tell you I'm working on this stream. I'm talking about energy flow, and that's the way that is. What I'm not telling you is I'm sitting here, I'm breathing, I'm observing all this information here. I'm picking up the energy coming from behind me here. My heart is beating. Okay, and that's varying. I'm picking up all kinds of optical and auditory information. Not to mention, I just finished a late lunch. So my body is in the process of moving food through the system and into the digestive tract. I'm not telling you any of this and so much more. But does this mean I'm lying to you? Not at all. Okay. Now, yeah, I had that problem. I ran into that problem a couple of times there, Shadow. Shadow's going, woo. I couldn't chat for like 5 minutes. I remember doing that in the hospital. Only mine was 2 days. It was a royal pain in the neck. Well, that is true, Shadow. I did. But there's an awful pile that I didn't bother with. And yeah, by the way, pointless information. This is one of the original of the good A&W root beer mugs. No, I did not take it out of A&W. Somebody else did, left it in the lobby a few years back, and I grabbed it. Net result, that's a water mug that is designed to put in the freezer and freeze it. Not with water in it, or you'll shatter the poor thing. Yeah, well, Shadow, see, this is where you just turn around, you grab those little figures of yours, and you talk to them. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but what the heck. Yeah, I don't doubt that at all there, Joe. There's only one reason I don't personally let myself cry, and it's got absolutely nothing to do with it being a manly thing, not a manly thing. It has to do with a very simple issue. My acid level in my system is so high. Well, how high is it? When I cry, I end up literally burning my face. Now, my heart already hurts. I don't feel like having that extra pain. Chad, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And where are we? The Chad Smith podcast. Copy that, and we pop that in here. And here you go, guys. If you like, drop in, give his stream a listen. If you like what he's got to say, definitely give him a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it. Okay, now, the third law is energy out, energy in. This means whatever you're putting your effort into, whatever you're putting your energy or your focus into, this is what you're stacking the deck in favor of co-creating. Now, understand, it doesn't guarantee everything will work right. It simply means that's where you're putting your effort. I love the way I heard it put by Wayne Gretzky. Now, I'm no hockey fan, but Wayne Gretzky put it this way. You may miss 95% of the shots you take, but you will miss 100% of the ones you don't take. Okay. Still working on getting things organized to a degree, but hey, what the heck. Oh, and by the way, guys, if you do like the stream, do give us a thumbs up. Do give us a thumbs up, do subscribe to the channel, and then share the daylights out of it if you would be so kind as to do so. That would be really appreciated. Now, in case you hadn't noticed, I've started putting the energy into putting out new posts. After I get done tonight, I've got a few things I got to do, but my intention, if I can get my head on straight, is to turn around and get a what do we call it? Upload a video anyway. I don't know what the actual term is. Don't really care what the term is. Call it a peanut butter sandwich. What an odd idea. I know I like jam and cheese. I'm wondering what peanut butter and cheese it tastes like. As in shredded cheddar cheese. Just a bizarre sidetrack, but what the heck? And Steve, I do agree with you. As far as the A&W root beer, if you're going to get root beer, I absolutely do agree that is one of the best. Now, what was it? I forget what the name. There's a type of root beer that is available down in Texas. I tried while I was down there a few years ago. And I believe it starts with an S, but I don't recall what it is. I do recall I can't find it up here at all. But, okay, you take a look at it. Now, I started off this morning. I've changed my diet. Again, I've got to get my life moving in the right order. So, of course, last night I went to bed at 10 o'clock. Woke up at 2 this morning and went, okay, let's stay, not going to go out and go to sleep. So I was up until 4 and said, no, I'm going to go and try and grab a little more now, a little more sleep. Laid down about 20 minutes later. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I got up. I've been up and on the go ever since. But got up this morning. And if you're wondering why I'm a little wired, well, part of that is because of the fact that when I got up this morning, I literally, now normally I am very much a carnivore, but this morning I had a half a cantaloupe with a quarter can of whole cranberry sauce for breakfast. Now, I don't know if this is normal, but I do know it did a whole heck of a lot for my energy level. Energy, when it comes in, like I said, starts up here, gets to the mind or the heart, one of the two. You'll get this thought, I've got to change something. Or you'll get this feeling, and you may not even know what it is. Okay, just this imperative pull that says, I've got to make a change. Okay, but until that imperative is there, the best thought in the world won't matter if you don't have that imperative drive. Sadly for me, that also applies to the idea of finances. I find if I don't get my back against a wall, I mean, I run into a serious little complication. Now, to this end, I've got about a month, maybe a month and maybe 2 months of finances still available before I better get my finances turned around. Net result, my brain kicked into gear, and all of a sudden, all the finances, all the understanding of the finances dropped in place. But let's understand something about money. Money is not the be all and end all. The material world is not the be all and end all. Okay. And physical things do hold, and they do hold an energy pattern. Ange, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Hopefully your day is going well. Now I'm going to show you something. Okay. Go over here. Now this little guy, okay, he's been sealed for literally decades. Okay. This guy used to belong to my older brother. Now my older brother spent half his life in the hospital. Okay. This little guy is named Sad Boy. He was with my brother every time he went to the hospital. I was fortunate enough to be the one to end up with him. So needless to say, he's still sealed, but this is sealed, not airtight, but so you can't get at him. He's been locked away for at least, well, my brother died 13 years ago, and he was probably locked away for 10 years prior to that. Okay, I don't know when he got sealed. I don't think it even says here. Nope. Wonder what that means. But this little guy holds a whole pile of energy. Okay, very much like this little ring. And we'll get to the way that energy will imprint on material objects momentarily. Okay, so needless to say, this guy is kind of an important little issue, which reminds me. He goes back there out of the way. Now, we start with this. Take a look at where your life is, because let's start the energy moving in the right direction. And by the way, sugar is not the best way to get your energy moving. Although it doesn't exactly hurt all the time. Now, when I talk about putting your hands together, okay, you'll notice I show you putting your hands together, a quarter inch to half an inch apart to feel the energy. Focus on that one word, heal. As you pull your hands apart, you'll feel that energy level containing that connection still connected. Now, you may not recognize what it is. It may feel like a push, a pull, a rolling energy. Maybe you're only feeling heat. The point being, that is what we call 0 point energy. Now, the other thing you can do with that is if you're feeling overwhelmed, take your hand, doesn't matter, right or left, take your pick. Put it down on something solid that usually sits on the ground. But make sure it's something that's heavy enough you can't readily pick it up. For instance, something like this, which is an easy chair to pick up. You never ground through a chair like this. Because what you're doing is you're taking the negative energy, you're taking the excess and loading it straight into this. But because it's not heavy enough, it won't bleed straight into the ground. Net result, you got a chair full of real negative energy. Picture what happens if you do that and somebody grabs hold of that negative load. Okay, this is one of the things you use for settling your brain down, getting things moving in the right direction. Now, with that in mind, where do we got here? That we moved all of that over. But if we take that, pop that up in the file where it belongs. There we go. And again, procrastination won't get you very far. Energy is one of these funny little things that when you tap into it, it's kind of like ending up supercharged in one heck of a hurry. Okay. But you can use it for everything from weight loss to healing modalities, i.e., it's been simply focusing on that neat little word, heal, that has taken my eyes. Well, didn't take my eyes, they're still right here, but has taken my eyesight from being minus 5 3/4 in my right eye, which is the one I took the trailer hitch to, and -6 in the left, which is only a quarter mark off being totally legally blind. Okay, at that time, if I held my glasses right here, that close to my face, I couldn't physically see them. Okay, but I've taken that modality, that energy transference, and accelerated my healing where now I have 20/20 eyesight for close up. You know, I can take, where is it here? This one will work. I can take this little book, and as you can see, oh, well, as you can see, I've got the right, I think, you know, you can't see that. There we go. You can see it a little that way. The writing is a little bigger than normal. Okay. But I can now read that book. That's an odd way to print. Oh, well. That's okay. It's the one that I use. Anyway, I can now read it clearly that far away. I couldn't do that when I started. I was almost blind. But something happened in the way of a booster. And net result, my eyesight is healing. I'm actually bringing my weight down. My weight is coming down. My energy level is going up. What I haven't quite figured out is what to do with the amount that I've got. Still having a lot of trouble with the focal point. But, oh, by the way, I should give you that. Because I have decided the only way that anything's going to happen is if I actually make it happen. Wishful thinking. It's a great thought, but it's not really that useful. So, if you're looking any of the books I'm talking about, okay, any of the books, any of the consulting, all of it, this email address is the easiest one to get to me on. Okay, if you've got a question that I don't get to here, absolutely drop me a line. I will do my best to connect. Okay. And again, you get done with something, put it back where it belongs. There's a neat little idea where it comes to energy flow. If you move it, put it back. This way you keep the energy moving in your house in the proper order. Okay, but what we have to really look at this point is what are you going to do with it? Are you content with the way your life is right now, or is it finally time to put your head down and go, okay, I'm moving forward? Raven, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I trust things are going well for you. And Raven is in the house, so let's grab this. Where are we? Raven. There we are. Take this little link. Now this is the link to Raven's live show. Okay. Absolutely. Drop in, give her a listen. If you like what she has to say, do give her a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and then share the daylights out of it. Okay, and let's hit refresh just on principle. See, we fluctuate a fair chunk here, but right now I'm seeing at 540, which really, well, when I take a look at the stream afterwards, okay, what I find is this. I've got a 2-hour stream, and usually before the end of the first day, quite often within the first 4 hours, I've got almost a day's worth of people watching the video. Now, this tells me it's reaching a whole lot more than 540 people. Okay. You're more than welcome there, Raven. Yo, I've come to the conclusion it's time to start pushing the idea of making your dreams a reality. My dream is simple: get all 8 of my books out into the public eye. And yes, in case you hadn't noticed, I've gone back and started writing poetry again. Net result, it's going to build towards a poetic anthology. Actually, I've got 3 poetic anthologies I'm going to be working with. But I've started moving on it quite nicely as far as that goes. Okay. One thing I do want to point out, because I know people keep telling me, I get notes in the email, in my email. Oh, we've seen your website, or we've seen your YouTube channel. It's great, and we can give you better visibility and what have you. I'm telling you, much as that's a great idea, at this point, I have spent thousands on people telling me they could help with visibility, okay, with the marketing. Spent thousands on them and had virtually no success with any of them. Okay, they're great at painting a beautiful picture. They're great at taking my money. I'm not interested in giving my money away anymore. Am I still planning on turning around? Well, no, it's happening. 80% of the net profit generated by my company is going to be going back to the public. Okay, as a matter of fact, where are we? We are in August, which means September 17th, because that's the way I've laid things out. But, Henry, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Hopefully your day's been going well. Oh, something just a little bit of a sidetrack. For those of you that have been asking me, the fires here are doing great. They've had a lot of practice. But the city has started putting some people back into their homes and are doing damage, property damage assessment in some of the areas. Okay, which means these first responders, especially with the firemen and the police, the ambulances, the EMTs, they're doing a phenomenal job at keeping people safe. Absolutely hats off. Now, I just found out yesterday we've got something in the neighborhood of 500 of the military that have also been brought in to help of the active military, possibly reserves, I don't know. But they're bringing military in to help deal with the fires. Okay, absolutely hats off to them. I couldn't be happier with them, I don't think. Okay, actually, quite often I don't think. I usually put my foot in my mouth without a problem. But myself, I haven't even gotten I did actually pack my car with emergency stuff, and as it turns out, that little sad boy should have been in the car a long time ago. Yes, it's a sentimental thing. Okay, now, energy does leave an imprint, and stuff that sometimes you take stuff that you've got stuff that's got some memories to it, and you dispose of it. Okay, not because it doesn't hold the memory anymore, but you gotta remember that memory is still in your head and heart. Okay, therefore, getting rid of the physical clutter can quite often be beneficial. Okay, I do know I wrote a couple of poems and what have you to go with Christmas gifts I'm sending off. Tonight, I'll be wrapping a few of them and boxing them so they're ready to go to the gifts for kids or kids, adults, whatever. Okay, but to spread a little bit of extra cheer, a little bit of extra energy at Christmas. Now, you don't have to believe in Christmas. Okay, I do, but there's a whole lot of reason for that. But your energy comes in. You can use it, like I said, to ground. You can use it to heal, to clear your thoughts, to ground yourself, to draw prosperity to you. And we'll cover that in just 30 seconds here. Because the thing with prosperity is it doesn't happen by luck. People do not get to be at the top of the financial totem pole because they wished for it. Once in a while, you'll get somebody that lucks out. Absolutely. So if you're into buying the lottery tickets, be my guest. Myself, I find it far more productive to take the money I would spend on a lottery and put it in the bank. Okay, just seems to be far more effective for me. I'm just looking at this. What do I got here? That's all got to stay there. Okay. That ain't gonna fit there for the moment, so that's okay. Now what the heck was that? Oh. Enchanting. Let's see, this belongs back. Yep, right there. Okay. Now, take a look at where your world is. Are you content with it the way it is? Okay. I look at this. Right. If I go over here, I keep this handy. Because this funny little satchel here has pretty much everything in it that I require. Like this is the bag I use for heading out the door. This one, on the other hand, don't exactly require, so let's get it out of the way. You'll notice what I'm doing. Oh, that worked well. You'll notice what I'm doing here is getting little projects out of the way that are just simply blocking the energy levels. Okay, now you decide what you're not content with and clear the energy clear the excess out of the way. That I don't require because I'm not using it anymore. Oh, can't do much with that. That'd be a garbage bag. No, I'm not using. Well, I am using it, but that's beside the point. Energy flow starts from here, but it's up to you what you do with it. Now, the neat thing with energy is you don't have to utilize your hands to direct it. And I will tell you, if you're going to talk to somebody that is claiming to be an energy healer and they tell you they have to make physical contact, walk away. They're not working with proper energy healing. They are, and that doesn't mean they're not good at healing. Okay. It means they're not good. They're not actually being straightforward about energy work. Maybe they don't know. Okay. This doesn't mean they're lying to you. But energy work, you don't have to get any closer than maybe, if your strength isn't very high, you may have to get as close to an energy as a quarter inch in order to make that energy work, or more to the point, in order to feel it. But you can do exactly the same thing by centering your attention right here, right smack in the middle of the third eye. Okay, you've got one chakra here, you've got three more on either side that are your Merkaba band. This is your creative energy. Now, the thing you got to remember there is you've got 7 chakras right around the front of the forehead. Draw a blank on a simple word like that. What do you think? Okay, by focusing on it, you bring all 6 of those together on the solar plane I'm drawing an absolute blank. Third eye. From there, you focus and you put it out. Now, here's the neat part. That same energy flow is the same one that is used for and this does exist, by the way, the Stargate program that you saw on TV called Stargate. Stargate SG-1. They're using 6 points, 7 points as well. 7 points are required to get anywhere in existence. Okay, anywhere in existence in the third dimension. And rest assured, whatever you've been told, if it exists in the physical world, in this world, if you can pick it up in any fashion, okay, and this is my personal belief, you are dealing with third dimensional energy. You're not dealing with fifth dimension. You're not dealing with fourth dimension. You're dealing with third. Okay. But with all third and with all energy in the third dimension, you require 6 points. Well, technically, you require 7. But here's what I mean. Okay. We take an object. You go to the center of the object, which is simple. With a rectangle, simply draw a line from one corner to the next corner. From this corner to this corner, the point that it crosses in the middle is the first point. You got 1 point on top, 1 on bottom, 1 in front, 1 in back, 1 inside, 1 on the other side. Now, where they all cross in a three-dimensional cube is right in the middle, like right down here, but in the middle. From there, you pick a 7th one, which is where you're heading, and it's the line from that center point to the place you're heading for. That's where your 7th point comes in. This is the same principle used for the wormhole generation, the generation of stable wormholes and the OTE drive, which we've covered before and we'll get back to eventually. By the way, guys, if you've got a question, even if it's not in the same topic we're discussing right now, absolutely, pop the question into the chat room, preferably in all caps so I can actually see the thing. Okay, at least partial caps or that wavy emoji, that waving hand, so I can spot that you're looking for it. Okay, now I am looking at this and going, okay, there are literally thousands of people around the world standing in front of billions of others that are telling you the world is a miserable place. We're all going to die. We got food shortages, land shortages. I heard one person tell us we have, get this, a gravity shortage. Okay. And I will tell you, there are many people that will tell you as they get older, their body is suffering from gravity because it's all sagging, which I don't know about you, not looking forward to it. So I'm modifying the rules. But what we do is get an idea in your own head as to what is absolutely required, what you're not content with, because I'll tell you that'll be easier to identify than figuring out what you are happy with or what you might be happy with down the road. Yeah, Raven, it was absolutely amazing. This person on YouTube, my son showed it to me. He goes, will you listen to this? And this woman was absolutely adamant that our problems around the world are not because of anything except we are running out of gravity. I'm not quite sure how you can actually live to be an adult, as in live. I am, by the look of her, 20, 22 years, and be that misguided. But somebody left her believing it. Okay. And, as the saying goes, there's no fixing stupid. Unfortunately, there really isn't. Well, that's not true. Doctors can do it. In all honesty, I was thinking the same thing. I'm going like, okay, we're now suffering from gravity. I mean, it was bad enough we were suffering from food, land, and shore and energy. But here's the neat little part. Okay, when we take a look at the land shortage that we're having, get this. Now, it isn't much, but I was reading the other day, apparently the Earth is growing in diameter about a millimeter a year. It's getting bigger. This is not a shrinking commodity. It's a growing commodity. Problem is, greed is growing faster than the land is. Okay. And what we have to realize, if you focus on what we're losing, focus on gravity, and, hey, I wonder, if we're losing gravity, does this mean the people with really swelled heads are going to float off into space first? Absolutely. I actually got, Raven's just going, we're suffering from an abundance of idiots. And I've been told, by the way, Raven, that calling somebody an idiot is not acceptable. It will upset them. It will make them feel bad. I'm thinking if they're that much of an idiot, they're not going to realize they're being insulted. But I consider it a compliment when I tell somebody they're an idiot. Okay. But yeah, you find some amazing people on this planet. What have we got here? Nathan, how you doing? Uh-oh. Nathan's driving all over the shopping lot again. Is that why you don't end up with a whole lot of I find it much easier, much less traffic, at least vehicular traffic, if you drive in the mall or you drive on the sidewalk. Don't do that. Okay, this is a bad idea. I know it was very tempting one day. I hit a pedestrian. Okay, I can still see the woman coming up over the hood of my car. But I didn't get charged. I didn't get points on my license. Nothing. As a matter of fact, the really shocking part, I was already at a 43% discount for my years of safe driving. And I wasn't old enough to get a senior's discount, right? But when I went to get my insurance a couple months later, my insurance rate dropped. Tell you, I sat there going, well, if you hit one pedestrian, your insurance rate drops a few dollars. What happens if you go shopping? No, I did not try that, and I certainly don't recommend that. Okay. Yeah. I keep telling people when I'm in the grocery store, I'll forget something. I'll forget my PIN number or something, or I'll forget to dig out my card. I just look at the cashier and I'll look at him and go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just not thinking tonight, but it's okay. I'm driving." And I'll tell you, if you watch the way people drive out there, it is amazing that some of them are still alive. But what I have come to the understanding of is this. And this is why I've started pushing the energy levels again. Okay, the best tools on the planet are 100% useless if you don't pick them up. Okay. Now, when I take a look at these, when I take a look at these 3 books, okay, believe in yourself and follow your dreams. Believe in your finances and follow your dreams. And believe in your business and follow your dreams. These are the simplistic tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. Okay, I am going to see about getting these 3 on Amazon as soon as I can. I'm also, as a matter of fact, I've got to give one chap a call to make sure I can get the upgraded Adobe version. The upgraded version of Adobe. And see what I can do about getting things moving. But I figure this. I'm now looking for different websites and what have you to go on and talk directly about the several books I've got. Okay. Let's face it, I've got 8 of them in print. It's time I start moving the things. But energy itself, once you know where it's working, okay, once you understand where it comes from, which is from the etheric plane, there is no shortage of energy. Rest assured on that. By the way, we also have no shortage of space. That's constantly expanding and being replicated. Okay, it's constantly being fed, quite frankly, from the black holes. They are pumping out more energy, or more to the point, more cosmic material into our existing reality on an ongoing basis. This is why when you talk to the scientists, they'll tell you the universe is expanding. It's because the black holes that you've been told only draw stuff in. Okay, when you're looking at that, no, it's not only drawing stuff in. Well, technically, the black holes you're seeing are, but coming out of another set of holes that you can't spot on this side are these tiny, tiny subquantum pockets that are feeding energy back into this world, which is then being utilized to rebuild the third dimension, this universe, okay, this level of existence. For those of you that are convinced you're going to ascend to the fifth dimension, well, you might want to consider the path. For you to get to the fifth dimension, first of all, you've got to find all of your component parts in the third dimension. You've got to find all of your soul family, draw you all back together. Once you've done that, then you can go back to the Great Hub, where you can choose one of the other dimensions to go to, or to come back to the third. Whichever one, you get completely disassembled, and now your journey is to go and find yourself again. Nice part about it is once you've completed for instance, your journey on the third dimension here, you can choose what order to go in, but not until you're done collecting all 12 dimensions do you get the option of moving back beyond whence you came. Okay, that ultimately is where all this energy goes and runs to. Now, no, I don't think in standard terms. Okay, and that's why I run into some of my interesting complications. Now, what do I got here? I think that's all. Go over here on my inventory sheet. That tells me what my inventory is. Which reminds me, I've got to make a couple of phone calls after I get done here. Well, this coming week I've got to do it because I can't do them all in one night. So we take energy from its core, from here, draw it through the logical brain, through the emotional heart, into the hand, and make it manifest. Now, I will tell you, just simply talking about your dreams does give it some extra energy. By physically writing it down, drawing it, carving it, gives you that much more energy. Okay. I mean, puts that much more impact. The more senses that you can involve in your internal or external description of the world you're building, the more readily you're going to be able to manifest it. Okay, and the neat part about it is that, and we're going to go sideways on this. Okay, I'm going to go sideways on this for a second, just because I can. Okay, I did this quite a number of years ago. This little circle, okay, this little, astrology wheel. Let's see here. There we go. Put it the right way up. Okay, when you start with Aries, now, this whole wheel that you're looking at here, I used 4 pieces of equipment. Okay. I used a pointer, a string, a pencil, and a straight edge. And with those 4 items, I drew this. Okay, this is your astrological wheel. Now, as you can see, Pisces is directly across from Capricorn. Okay, now, if you follow standard astrology, they'll tell you if your suns are in opposition, you won't get along with that person. I'm here to tell you, if that were the case, you notice half of the world will be at war at all times, except for the fact that's not the way it works. However, if you have bought into the idea that you cannot, like in my case, I'm Taurian, at least by my first birth date. If you buy into the teachings that a Taurian cannot get along with a Scorpion, with a Scorpio, then all of a sudden you got a problem. Now, I know a few Scorpios I get along with fine. Okay, The reality is that it's like if you think of Taurus and Scorpio or any of the signs, they're in opposition. Picture one sign on this end of the table, the other sign on this end. Now you can carry a staggering amount if you're working together. But if you're arguing with each other, you'll twist it, you'll dump the load. Question is, are you going to twist the energy? Are you going to fight with the people around you and cause conflict in your life and in theirs? Or are you going to work together? That's your choice. I can't make that choice for you. Okay. All I can do is turn on the lights and go, this is what you're looking at. Now, if I take a look at this, I already did all that. So I don't need that. That can go right in there. Yeah, it's called my handy dandy shredder. But whatever you're thinking of, that thought, now do understand something. Thinking about doing something has no functional bearing on it being better or worse than doing it, except for this. If you're thinking of doing something, if you act on said thought, that's where it becomes a problem. I'm going to find that one. I wonder if that's where it was. I think I actually marked it. Yeah. This was literally just to give you an idea of how words work. I wrote this way, way back. I'm trying to remember. I wonder what year this was. Copyright 1997. This was actually written, or more to the point, published the day my eldest son was born. Okay. And it's called Words and Emotions. Words are simply labels for emotions that we feel. They're totally inadequate. They're never very clear. No matter how you say them to make them understood, they always come out sounding wrong, not quite the way they should. Accentuation means a lot in everything you say, for if you phrase a statement wrong, you'll lead someone astray. Words convey so very much, they just can't say it all. Without the action backing them, they can't stand up, they fall. So remember, when you're trying to explain the way you feel, to back your words with actions, because actions make them real. Meaning, whatever you're thinking of, okay, it is the backbone of what you're working with. But if you don't get off your tail feathers and make it happen, it ain't going to matter. Point in fact, the Yldrbac Chronicles is about the world falling apart, going completely to heck in a handbasket. Okay, now that's thinking about it. That, welcome aboard, Philip. That is a poem I wrote back in 1997 called Words and Emotions. Okay, and it was that poem that led me to the whole understanding of just exactly how much money the people that made that book really made on publishing somebody else's poems. You know, and I'll guarantee when they did that I worked it out based on today's money. They were clear, including handing out one book per poem. Okay. They made clear of $30,000, okay, before they ever went to print. Okay, now that's just one of the poems I've written. This is why I'm putting a poetic anthology together. It's actually in the process of being dealt with. Yeah, I'm almost tempted to go get that other play toy mine, except it's outside. But take whatever thought you've got, whatever creative energy you've got available. It's time to start putting it to work. Okay, Nathan is taking this idea of a speeder bike, and he's doing the work on it. He's putting his energy, his physical energy, into his thought process. simply, but I'd have to go through and figure out who the publisher was. But this is a poetry book. When they drew together, they paid us, and I thought it was a good deal. Talk about stupid. Okay, I thought it was a good deal to get one poem published in this book. They asked for $75 from each person, and what they guaranteed was that they would give you a copy of the book. They did do exactly what they guaranteed. Okay, they absolutely did, so I won't fault them for that. They said, this is what I'm asking, this is what you get. They followed their word to them and to the letter. Now, of course, that's 97, so 26 years ago, and they followed their word. They said, this is what I'm going to do, this is what they did. But when I calculated it out about 6 months ago, these guys, including the cost of printing the book and mailing one copy to each of the people that contributed for each poem that was done, they still made $30,000 in net profit. Then they started making money on selling the book itself. Now, this is why I'm saying the poetic anthology I'm putting together, and I can't do anything with it yet until I get word the end of this week. Well, probably the end of next week, but I'm waiting to find out from the government if they're going to back me up. If they don't, then I will start working on the other side of it. I'm going to make this empire happen. I'm going to build the publishing company with or without backing. It's just that's the way it's going to be. Okay. But it's a question of getting an idea in your head and going, this is what I desire to happen. Okay. Like this picture over here. This one right here is the original picture that was drawn by one of the gamers. And I know you can't see that very well, and I'm not dragging it down off the shelf. But it was drawn by one of the gamers. That is Jeremiah Wolfstrand. Okay. Who is in the Yldrbac. He is the lead character in the Yldrbacian Chronicles. Now, what I'm looking at is this. You've got a goal. You've got a dream. Let's get the energy moving. Take that thought. Get it clear in your head. But look for that drive, that imperative push. Because I'll tell you, even if the most intelligent individual, the most educated man or woman tells you you've got to change what you're doing, and Raven, I absolutely will be. The way that I just can't do anything with it yet. Okay, and I will keep you posted. As soon as I've got go-ahead, I absolutely will be. See, what I'm going to be doing is this. In order to get a book published, okay, and I've already looked into the printing side of it. So the book will only, like each book, and I'll be putting out multiples. Okay, but to get your poem in print is going to require a very simple issue. Okay, the poem itself, okay, your original work, a letter stating it's your original work with permission for me to repost it. Okay, for me to repost it in whole or in part. Okay, plus $20 Canadian. For that, I will absolutely be sending out a book to every person that contributes. Okay, and it'll just come back. You won't have to pay for the first copy. It'll just be free. Okay, because it's a way of saying thank you for the contribution. But I've got it worked out where 80% of the profit is already, of the net profit is already sorted around. Okay, if you're interested, if you're thinking this is something you might be interested in, I can't do a thing with the money yet, but a letter stating that you're interested in getting your poem published absolutely would be very beneficial to me in getting the government to back me up and go, okay, we're going to give you a hand because you've already got letters of intent right handy. But that's $20 per poem. But each poem that you contribute will end up getting you one free book. Well, not a free book. Essentially, it'll be a prepaid book, but it'll be yours. Okay, so if you've got 2 poems, you'll end up with 2 copies. Okay, but it is $20 Canadian per poem. Okay, if you're interested in that side of it, absolutely. Again, this is a question of this is what I desire, so therefore, put it out there and see what happens. Okay, if it pans out, this is great. It contributes to everything else. But where that money is all going in the long run is building an actual healing center where people are going to be taught not what to think, how to heal themselves, how to interact with other people, which is really neat when you think about the fact I'm reclusive. Okay, but yeah, that kind of, because what I found happen with all the big companies, pretty much all of them, okay, I've talked to a staggering number of authors. Okay, authors, artists, that sort of thing. And I'm going to cover the whole 9 yards. Okay, but what usually happens is you get a poem or you get a story written and you turn it over to 100 publishers. From the reports I've got and I've received, you get, if you're lucky, you get 3 responses. Probably no, we're not interested. The other side of that is your work goes missing, gets stolen, you get told it's not good enough. Okay, it's not good enough, and then people get shut down. And there are so many authors that have really neat stories, some of them very short. So, of course, with that, I'm going to be looking at poetic anthologies, an anthology of short stories that are written by other people. Yes, I will have some of my work in it, absolutely. Okay, but that's just the way my life goes. Yeah, no doubt. The only stipulation around anything I go to publish is I won't be publishing, and it won't be a case of saying, oh, it's not good enough to publish. It'll just be, I'm not touching it. I'm not going to touch any type of writing that is just vulgarity for vulgarity's sake. Okay, because I've got three different poetic anthologies I'm working on, because there are some that will be adult only, but it will not be anything that has to do with just talking about overthrowing a government or a company. And I mean poem a poem or a story or artwork that is dedicated to overthrowing a country, overthrowing a major corporation, okay, or hurting people just for hurting people's sake. Okay, I am looking for inspiration. Well, never mind what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is poets and authors that don't have, and that works out beautifully there, Philip. I'm going to be looking for poets and authors that have something they desire to publish. Let me paint a picture for you. Okay, and I did this the other day, but we'll use this thing just because I don't have to get up. Picture this. Okay, yeah, it's a cutting board. It's in rough shape. It's been around for 30 years. There's no wonder it's in rough shape. But somebody took a canvas. Now, it was a lot bigger than this. Okay, but they took a full-size canvas, okay, that was just this off-white color. Painted the whole thing off-white. Okay, just one wash of off-white. That's it. Bordered it in baseboard wood. Okay, put a title on it that said Whiteout. They sold the dang thing for $1 million. Okay, now I'm not one to tell you whether your artwork or your stories are any good. I'm just one to tell you I will or I won't publish it, and this is why. But it won't be because it's not good enough. It's not long enough. And you can bet your bottom dollar if it shows up. Now, I can't give you an idea. Oh, In a manner of speaking, I don't know what the thing's made out of. It's made out of plastic. But I have used this for literally cutting raw meat on it, cutting vegetables. Yeah, cutting steak dinner. I've eaten steak dinner on it. Okay, there's very little that hasn't been done on this, and just don't let your mind go too terribly twisted. Okay, but yeah, it's stained, and let's face it, but it does get washed on a regular basis. No, I haven't bothered painting the thing. Okay, but I've cut fresh, I've cut fresh roast. I've done when I go to do jerky, it's this board I cut the jerky on. Okay, because the blood won't soak into it like it would on a wood board. Although it's it's terrible on the blade. But what I'm looking at there, and like I said, if you're interested in having your poem done, I can't do a thing with it just yet. And I won't be able to give you a time frame I'm putting out because it depends on how many poems I get in. Let's see if we've got 4. I will have probably in each little anthology, because I'm going to be looking at anthologies that are in books about this size. Okay. And with that in mind, I've already talked to my printer. Doing a book like this, she said I can get away with probably 10 pages at the most, which means I look at 8 pages, okay, with 1 on each side. You're looking at 8 sheets, rather, and 8 sheets means 32 poems, all original works, all with that neat little letter that says, I'm entitled to reprint it in whole or in part. Okay, and then the original does belong to the person submitting it. Okay, that's what I'm looking at. But it literally means I've got to have 32 before I can do that. Oh, you have not seen some of the twisted stuff that I've looked at there, Philip. Blood magic is great, but I will tell you, subquantum cellular magic is even better. But talk about twisted. I hadn't heard about that one, Raven. Raven's just saying, in a similar vein, some artist took a 4x8 foot signboard, painted it white, wrote the word rats on it 3 times in red paint, and it sold for over $1 million. Now, who am I to tell you your artwork or your writing isn't good? Okay, who am I to say that? Okay, I mean, let's face it. Yes, I write. I have my own feel about it. I know what I like. Okay, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you your book and your story isn't good enough. Okay, I've already been approached by one person about, I've already started co-authoring another book with somebody else. That same person has asked me if I'd be willing to work with him to build a screenplay once we're done with it. A script for it. And I told him, I says, yeah, we can do that too. Now, I'm not a script writer, but I do know how to write, and we'll work with what we got. I've already been approached by 2 different companies regarding turning the Yldrbac Chronicles into a movie. And I flat out told them, until I finish the 3rd book, I'm not even discussing it. But I've got my own way of looking at the world, and yeah, it's definitely a little twisted. Again, it boils down to this. Do I have... No. I don't think so. I wonder, I know what I'm looking for. What is that sheet there? Is that book there? Oh, I don't know. I'm just looking up here because... What's that, all maps? That's all kinds of maps. Boy, is that some old work. You want to see some old work. Now, the Yldrbac Chronicles. There's one of the original duotangs I wrote in. And yes, it used to be called, and we had originally started with Ernath the latter years. This was all taken into consideration when I started writing the other part of it, but that wasn't what I was looking for. That's just a little bit of, shall we say, ancient trivia. I wonder if I've got. No, I'm not going to go there. I got files upon files up here I still have to go through. And that might be it right there. Wonder if that's it. I know what I'm looking for. I just don't know if I'm absolutely right where I think it is. More poetry and what have you that I've got. It's funny, I'm looking at this shelf here. Well, let's get that there. Looking at this shelf, it's roughly 3 feet long. Absolutely full of other paperwork I've worked on. Not yet, but I am actually, that's something I'm working on. Things like, what was the name of, like, there is a character way back at the beginning. Now, let's see, Te Romane. Yeah, I am building the chronicle for it, which literally details which people come into which book when. Okay, and that's all getting put together, but it won't come out until after the final book is out. Okay, and I shouldn't call it the final book. The 12 books in sequence are the ones I'm working on right now. Where it comes, because I got behind, I've wasted essentially a year trying to make things happen, trying to find things to work right. It just didn't work. So I kept putting myself behind the 8 ball. But somebody else in the chat room suggested that I write an interactive story. Do I have one here? I used to, Lord knows that. Nope, not there. Wonder what the heck I did with it. I will have to find a bunch of this stuff, but that's why I'm going through the old files. Okay, but I was asked to write a book that is literally an interactive. Do this, you've got these choices. Which one? If you want this one, go to this page. Okay, and that is something I've already started working on. It will eventually end up in print. But my primary focus at this point is the completion of the Return to Paradise. I've been looking through it, and I'm actually racking off pages left, right, and center. I've got, as near as I can piece together, about 40 more pages. And we've already edited everything in the background so far. Exactly, Philip. That is precisely what I'm referring to. And depending on what you've got, you'll be able, the way I've designed it in my head is it's going to be based on gaming, which really boils down to, okay, here's what your options are. Now, I could include dice rolling. Okay, I haven't decided if I'm going to include dice rolling or if I'm just going to leave it as you do this, this is what you've got. Keep tabs on this stuff that you require, because you open this chest, okay, and you tried this, you get a sword. Now, when you go to fight the next option that you've got, or you go to get into a chest, if you picked up a key, you may be able to use the key to get in, and you'll be able to open the chest. If you don't have the key, go to this other spot. Okay, and here's the options of what you can do. Let's see. Joe's going, now, being an empath and sensing what's wrong with someone else out in public, is it wise to confront them about it, not knowing the consequences that may happen afterward? In my personal opinion, no. Okay, I sense a lot of things are off with people. Once in a while, it makes sense. Like, it's literally that issue, that kind of sense. But I learned over the years how to gauge whether it was safer. When I was dealing with the troubled kids down at the park, I would sense which ones were in serious trouble, and I would pull them aside. Never ask them right in front of everybody else. I'd go, can I talk to you for just a moment? And then I'd come right out and tell them, look, I can feel something is wrong. Do you mind if I ask what's up? Because you say you feel like it feels like you need near. Okay. But this idea of walking down the street and just telling people, oh, you sense this about them, you're asking for complications. So is it wise? No, not in my personal opinion. But ultimately, you're going to have to make that choice for yourself. Okay, if that makes any sense. Okay, but again, be true to yourself first. Clearly, if somebody is bursting into tears, clearly asking them what's wrong or asking if they'd like to talk, there's nothing wrong with that. It may be that little conversation is all it takes to stopping them from blowing their own brains out. Maybe they're having that bad of a day. So it really depends on the situation. But as far as just a normal person, you're walking down the street, they're not doing anything abnormal, and you feel there's something off. Coming right out and asking them, especially in front of other people, is not likely to end well. Neat little thing about a fan that size, I can actually get the energy running. Absolutely there, Philip. And I've seen, it was funny. I was going through the hospital one day. My brother was in hospital. I'm walking down the hall, and I passed this young lass. She was on oxygen, right? And she wasn't looking all that well. And I just looked at her. I looked at her. I says, "You look like you're having a rough day." Now, bear in mind, we're in the hospital. She's on IV. She's on oxygen. I said, she's just an oxygen, just the nose thing, not a mask. Right. I looked at her, I says, "You look like you're having a rough run of it." And the young lass goes, "Yeah, the doctors have said I've only got a couple of weeks to live." Right. I looked at her and I went, "Really?" I said, "Look, I'm not a doctor. I don't want to, this is going to sound weird. I don't want to touch you or anything. But do you have the strength to kick your left leg out from underneath the gurney and from underneath the blanket?" And she looked at me a little funny. And she goes, "Yeah." I said, "Great." I said, "If you're willing," I said, "like I said, I'm not going to come any closer to the bed. I just want to see the bottom of your left foot." So she looked at me confused and kicks her foot out from under the blanket. And I bent down, looked at her, and went, "Nope, not going to die this week." She goes, "Pardon?" "But the doctor said," I said, "I'm not debating what the doctors told you, but there's no expiry date on the bottom of your left foot. You're not dying yet." I says, "You're not interested in dying?" "Well, no, I got lots of things I want to do." I says, "Well, scrap what the doctor said." Okay. 2 weeks later, I went back to visit my brother. And here comes this young lass walking down the hall. She's still on an IV. But now she's upright and walking, and all of a sudden her eyes burst wide open. She looks at me, grabs the doctor by the arm, and points at me and goes, "That's the guy that told me I wasn't going to die. That's the guy that proved you guys wrong." And he looked at me and he goes, "You're not a doctor. How could you have known?" I said, "I just checked the bottom of her left foot. There was no expiry date. She's not dying." Right. And, because the doctors are looking at each other going, "I don't understand it. She's just made a total recovery." Attitude is 9/10 of the battle. Okay. You can absolutely, Raven. just remember, that boils down to this. And again, it boils down to you ask your spirit guide, they talk to, you ask your people, they talk to his people, then his people talk to him, and then it comes back. Okay. And this is why I say on the whole, but there are always ways to get around things. Okay. But am I one to ignore somebody if they're in pain? Not at all. Okay. As a matter of fact, I've been known to ask people just right out of the blue how they damage themselves. Like I'll see somebody with a snapped arm, or they'll be in a leg brace or what have you. And yeah, I'll absolutely ask what happened. And it's amazing, so many people, it's just that little bit of caring that makes all the difference in the world. But when we are talking about energy flow, we are talking about taking the energy you're feeling and deciding what are you going to do with it. Now, for me, I'm looking at the writing I'm doing. It absolutely is there, Philip. Okay, and this brings us to that other thing. If you're one of these people that prays or that, believes in asking for what you want, okay, don't. And don't get me wrong, pray absolutely, but you do it in terms of thanking your creator or thanking whoever for providing whatever. You do not phrase it as I want something or I need something. Thank you for providing whatever because I choose to have or I desire to have. This is a way of modifying the energy to enhance the opportunity of co-creation. Half the reason I don't get sick is because of the fact I decided long ago I don't have time for it. Okay, but it boils down to when your mind can conceive it and your heart can believe it, then you can achieve it. And of course, those incredible 4 words, I am worth it. The 4 most powerful spoken words in any language, written or spoken, that I'm personally aware of. Okay, those combined words and that thought process can make all the difference between whether you create the future you desire or you drag yourself along in dread of what's coming. Okay. That's the, I saw an interesting little post the other day. Fear has 2 meanings. Fear everything and run. Okay. Well, what was the other one? Yeah, fear, that's one. But what was the other one now? I forget what the other half of it was. But from my standpoint, it boils down to this. When you take a look at it, Philip's going, I'm not currently in contact with an interactive conversing spirit guide. And the neat little part there, okay, is you may well Raven, I like that one. Raven's just had another definition for it. False events are real. Meaning if you believe all the fear-mongering that's going on, that we're all going to die, we are all going to die. Absolutely. There are very few people that actually get off this world alive and stay that way. But when I take a look at it, it's this. Okay, you take the energy, you take that thought, and you've got a choice. You can think about everything going wrong. You can think about failure. There's no saying that goes, people don't plan to fail. They fail to plan, which is why I'm putting things in motion now and starting to build the different anthologies I'm looking at. Okay, they're no longer just a thought process. They are literally being constructed. Yeah, Joe goes, makes perfect sense. I was in the car one day with my mom at Starbucks drive-thru. Saw a blonde woman with her son outside. I knew right away, just by her mood, if I'd confront her oh, if I'd confront her about it, spot on. You know, I think there's more to that, but sometimes you can see somebody that is having a lot of trouble and just know a simple question, a simple question of concern is not a problem. It may be that one thing that stops them from doing something fatal. Okay. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that later I've been literally told that. Now that's pretty intriguing when you think of the fact that I'm actually rather reclusive. And where are we? I'm just going to refresh this to find out. And again, guys, if you like the stream, if you're listening in and you haven't done so already, if you like the stream, do give us a thumbs up, do subscribe to the channel, and then share the daylights out of it. That would be really appreciated. Okay. And yes, for those of you that are already getting the newsletter, things got a little screwy. They will be out before the end of the month anyway. They have to be. I actually just finished pointing. I think I've just got the final edit to do on it right now. You're absolutely right, Raven, that the pendulum works beautifully for it. Okay. I know I used the Ouija board when I was younger. That was funny. Okay. By the way, Ouija boards, much as they work, can be very disconcerting for some people. In my case, it was intriguing. There were 4 of us playing with it. We all had our hands on it. Okay. Now, in our case, we were using a wooden planchette. It was an old Ouija board. And all of a sudden, like it was moving around a little. All of a sudden, the planchette, the little triangle thing, picked up off the table and buried itself in a concrete wall. And I'm looking, I went over to see what was going on. What the heck happened? The other 3 ran out of the room absolutely chalk white. My dad used to worry that I don't have a fear of the metaphysical world. Now it's time to start teaching new people, start reminding you. Yeah. Feld goes, have you ever left offerings out for the fae, potential spirit guides, non-human intelligence, etc.? Like some tasty fruit, or maybe a couple of pancakes. The answer is no, and here's why. I don't leave my house, but I've got a in my house is a little odd. I've got spirits coming and going all the time. My spirit guides have revealed themselves to me in some pretty emphatic fashions. Okay. And, the first one I ran into, and it was really neat the way it happened, because I was literally, if you know anything about the Rogers Pass in Canada, between Alberta and BC, up at the top in the trading post up there, in the museum up there, you used to be able to actually put your hands on the Wolverine. They've got stuffed Wolverine. And when I was just a little lad, I put my hands on it, and all of a sudden the thing, and I know it was an overlay now. At the time, it startled me in a really good way. But this Wolverine all of a sudden looked at me, and I knew right then and there that was the first of my animal totems. Then years later, I met a Black Panther. Then I met a 4-foot, highly intelligent raven. These are 3 out of my 4. I know I've got one more spirit guide. I just don't know what it is just yet. I honestly don't know, Philip, if there was a mining disaster up there or not. Okay. I do know it's a mountain pass. It's about halfway up the BC Alberta border. What do we got? Raven goes, the paranormal activity in my house lesson. Oh, once you be, yeah. And quite often it does. For me, I just keep telling people and telling the bodily dispossessed, if they desire to come and hang around, be my guest. Gets a little disconcerting for my son on occasion, but it's pretty active around here. But it really boils down to this. When I said I don't find a difference in people. Whether they're corporeal or non-corporeal doesn't matter to me. They can be live, they can be dead, don't matter. It's kind of like talking to a pedestrian or talking to a driver. Okay, to me it's the same thing. But when you think about the energy, it comes in. Now, here's the thing. If you're an energy healer, okay, I'm going to throw a neat little twist in things for you. If you're an energy healer, most of you have been taught, draw the energy in through the crown chakra, pull it through your body, through the heart chakra, and then out through the arms, and then guide it wherever you will. Okay, and that way you can help heal. Quite often that's very true, Philip. You know, Philip's going, borderlands are often places with a little bit of extra woo. See, I live on the border between sanity and insanity. I'm not sure which side. But for those of you that are energy healers, if you've been taught to draw your energy through your body, you'll find when you get, you'll likely find when you get done working with a healing, you get tired and you've got to clear your energy or the energy won't flow properly. Okay, now, here's the thing, Raven, and you'll understand this one. Picture your body like a straw. Okay, the energy comes through your body, you know, a straw or a pipe, goes through your body, through the heart chakra, and then out through your hands. Bendy straw, if you will. Now, take a look at that. Now, take that straw and turn the water on, okay, on your tap. Take that water, or that straw, dip it into the edge of the water. What you're doing is pulling a little bit of that energy out through the straw and then redirecting it where you will. Now, here's the kicker. Okay, every energy flow has residual. It's got debris. Okay, and whenever you're looking at a pipe, you'll notice the pipes get clogged and the stuff builds up inside. Just like your arteries, the plaque will build up, closing that circle in. Okay, now, that's the way most people are taught to do it. Okay, now, here's the neat little kicker. Take a steel rod and do the same thing. Put the end of the steel rod in the flow in the water stream. The water will hit the steel rod and run down the steel rod and out to wherever you aim it. Okay. With that in mind, there will be a buildup, but on the outside of a steel rod, it'll build up outside. It won't slow the energy flow down at all. But here's the kicker. You won't be tired. You won't have to worry about the energy flow being blocked off. This is why I heal at the speed I do. I don't pull the energy through me. I pull it to the crown chakra, around the outside of the body, down the outside of the arms. I do use the hands on occasion to point where it goes. But I will tell you this. That's more for the benefit of the recipient than it is for me. Because you can make that same change by simply activating the Merkaba energy here in the third eye and just direct it where you desire it. It'll still go down that line. But you won't find you're as tired. You'll be energized. You'll still be able to run. This is why I can run for hours at a time. It's because I don't draw the energy through me. Okay. Of course, when I talk to most auric healers, they'll tell you, "Oh, I'm mixing my energy. I mix my energy with theirs." I seldom use my own energy. I did when I was younger, but I draw on the universal energy, and rest assured, there's a lot more of that than I have. Net result, I'm only sleeping 4 to 6 hours a night. I was pretty tired when I got on here today. Right. And then all of a sudden, I got in here, get the energy moving. In case you hadn't noticed, I haven't exactly slowed down a whole lot. But that's the thing with energy. There is no energy shortage. Although I do find it fascinating that so many companies, when they've already said they don't have enough hydroelectricity to run the current households, why, pray tell, are they focusing on adding more strain to it by adding electric cars? Okay, because they're not doing themselves any favors. The superstructure isn't there to hold it in place. Now, on the other hand, we have somebody like Nathan working on essentially a hover. He's looking and working on a speeder bike. Okay, run on mercuric magnetics, and this is something again. It's a self-regenerating system, especially when you figure out the light and the sonic impact. I won't argue with you there, Raven. Like I've been tracking since the beginning of the year. Over from midnight to midnight, I average a little under 5 hours a night. But I usually do it in 2 runs of 2 or 3 hours. Yeah, Phil's just going, reminds me of guided Buddhist meditation, where we picture a bright, pure light, a bright, pure light medicine Buddha in our hearts. Breathe in the suffering of in the word. Run in through pure light of the medicine Buddha. Breathe out peace and healing. Absolutely. I mean, you take a look at it. We draw in oxygen, and the human body pumps out carbon dioxide. The trees, on the other hand, the arboreans and the trees and all the plants breathe in carbon dioxide. They breathe that and they breathe out oxygen. This is a symbiotic relationship. And yet mankind is insisting on clear cutting major chunks of their oxygen supply. Never mind the trees. We're running out of wood, so let's go to plastic. Yeah, you're still burning a lot, but this is why going down that road, another little thought process there. Okay, and this is why you don't pull it into yourself there, Raven. You don't pull the energy in, pull it around. Okay, if you pull it around your body, you're still going to be able to redirect it. But universal energy is already pure. But if you're aware of surrounding yourself with a bubble of white light, okay, again, this boils down to your energy flow. Surround yourself with a bubble of white light. Call it your imagination if you will, because it really is the key to the higher senses. Surround yourself with a bubble of white light. And that will protect you from the negative ambient energy on the planet. Things that are caused just because of conflicts between people. Surround that bubble with mirrors facing away from you. Much like you're standing inside a Christmas ball that's got a Christmas ball or a disco ball. The mirrors will reflect back the negative energy that other people are generating. Okay, things like arguments, bullying, that sort of thing. And then you run really thick, healthy roots right from the soles of your feet, straight to the core of the earth. Okay, that will bleed off the negative energy you personally generate. Things like self-doubt, self-recrimination, self-reprisal, this sort of thing. Okay, net result, it bleeds it off and returns it, and you can transmute it at the same time into a more positive energy by simply keeping that word heal running right through the center of your heart. Okay, right through your mind and heart. Doesn't matter what language you speak. Doesn't matter what gender you are, what finances you have. Also doesn't make any difference who you're voting for. It still works the same way. But the net result, you'll heal faster, you'll stay healthier, you'll understand more clearly, and your memory improves. Okay, all in all, this is pretty much a good thing in my eyes. Now, let me ask you this, Raven. You mentioned you'd be scared to pull that and pull that energy into yourself. Let me ask you this. Okay, are you scared that you'll get hurt, or are you scared that are you scared you won't be able to handle it, or is it more frightening of a thought that you might be able to handle it? All you have to do there is when you're drawing the energy in, just at the same time, periodically just remind yourself you're transmuting whatever the energy is to love, and expelling it and guiding it back out into the world around you. The fact of the matter is there's only two emotions to deal with. You've got love and you've got fear. Okay. It's the balance of those two that keep you running healthy. Yeah, in all fairness, Philip, which llama it was, which llama it was, really isn't a major concern at this point, simply because of the fact most of us won't remember his name anyway. Oh, and Raven's going, my fear is the external suffering would amplify the suffering inside of me, and then I'd be depressed. This is one of the biggest reasons why you never draw it into yourself. Okay, this is why I don't draw it into me. I used to. I used to always pull the energy into me and then let my own healing rate correct it and then send it back out. But that became a whole lot of a problem until I figured out if I draw it through the crown chakra, which is outside the physical body, and then draw it around the outside of the physical core, it doesn't have that depressing impact. Absolutely correct, Philip. Self-compassion is absolutely the first compassion. But yeah, if you draw it around you, you can transmute it through the external aura field, and net result, you won't get the depression. Okay, it doesn't get into your body. You may feel it, but it'll be like feeling a wave of energy run over you. Okay, up to you whether you want to hang on to it. Myself, I figure I got enough to get frustrated and depressed and annoyed about. I don't need to take on somebody else's. It's funny. I remember I was talking to a young lass. I was talking to a young lass one day, the friend of mine that's going into the MMA, and she was just getting started. And I says, whenever you're going to hit somebody, I told her how to hit the person. Now, bear in mind, I am not trained in martial arts, period. I was actually forbidden to. But I laid out a couple of techniques, and she looks at me and she goes, Keith, we're having a physical contest. We're not trying to kill each other. I went, oh, oops. The fact of the matter is, yes, I write some pretty graphic books. Oh, and I haven't seen any. I'm curious. I'm just going to put it out there. Derek, if you're actually listening to this now, or if you're listening to it later, 2 days ago, I believe. Oh, where are we here? Yeah. I believe it was 2 days ago. Okay. I sent your books your direction. Now it's up to the post office when you get them. But they're already airborne. Yeah. And Philip's just going on to say self-compassion, then you have the strength for the compassion. See, I've never had a problem with compassion for other people. Tolerance, a lot of problem. What I don't have is compassion for people that cause themselves such self-inflicted wounds when they already know better. One of the other little details that I have found, whatever you're thinking about, how you phrase it makes a lot of difference. Okay. Now, if you've ever watched the evangelical preachers, right, people put so much faith in them that what happens when you see them praying over the person and then they all of a sudden go, you are healed. The person believes so strongly in that ability that it accelerates their own healing rate. Now, I always find it comical, but the reality is it works. It's very much like when a doctor gives somebody a placebo. It can work as well. But I will tell you, where it comes to modern medicine, if you're working with doctors, they've got you on a medication, absolutely do not self-modify. You talk to the doctor, you talk to the pharmacist, absolutely ask questions. But just going, I don't want to do it, is not a brilliant move. No, that's very true, Philip. Philip goes, compassion doesn't mean we're not frustrated. Absolutely it doesn't. You can still get frustrated. You can still get concerned for somebody. The thing is, it doesn't wear on your heart as badly. This is one of the things we have to look at. Now, when we're looking at the way your energy is running in your world, you'll notice that if you take a look at it, like this stuff, I've actually been working on today. But it goes right back into the filing cabinet when I get done for the night. Primarily because, well, I have to get it there. Technically, I guess I don't have to. But by making certain you stay on top of things, you can actually change the way your world is working. Okay? But it is absolutely up to you whether you make that happen. Now, tonight, I am going to be directly putting on the Facebook, well, on the three I've got right now, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I'm going to be putting in a direct request to other stations to go on the air with them to discuss the different books I've got. Because quite frankly, it's the only way I'm going to start getting it done. Raven goes, compassion can be a curse. It's how I ended up with 20 cats to feed every night. No, I mean, that compassion itself, I don't feel is the curse. It can complicate things, but this is where be true to yourself first comes in. I'd love to be able to help every animal and every person out there. Not functionally feasible. Okay. But what you do is you go, okay, I can afford this many. Just don't forget, Raven, I'm not telling you don't help animals. Clearly, I find animals far more honest than people. But one thing that I can tell you very wholeheartedly is that you're not the only person on the planet. Yes, help the ones you can. But I will tell you, especially if you're dealing with ones that don't have a house to live in. Cats lived a long time without houses. They don't require them. Okay. But when you help a cat and by putting food out for them, okay, they will turn around and I kid you not, they will find other cats that require help. mean, it was a funny thing. I saw a video of somebody. Somebody posted a video a while back. It was the most priceless thing I'd ever seen. Okay, this rat had gotten caught in a live trap, and this mouse came along and opened the live trap from outside and let the rat go. And they didn't even chase after the rat. It just came along and goes, oh, well, let's open that cage up. Rat goes scooting off. And the cat let the cage close again. Now, this is a normally predatory species helping its prey to escape. Absolutely, cats make houses sometimes. Usually what they do is they come into your house and tell you, I live here, you take care of me. I'm still firmly convinced the cats were never domesticated. They simply learned how to command people. So I mean, basically that's the way that energy works. It can be used for everything. And the more you get rid of the excess clutter in your house, the more freely the energy will run, and the more energy you'll have, the more health you'll have, the more joy you'll be feeling. This is the kind of thing I would love to see expand from this chat room. And I will see it happen. And again, if you desire a copy of the newsletter, all I require is a physical mailing address if you want the hard copy, or an email address if you desire the soft copy. Other than that, that's it. Okay. And again, if you are interested in getting your poem or your short story printed, absolutely. Now with the poem, I can tell you, short story, I've got to figure it out, because that one I've got to do some calculations on. But with the poem, I'm looking at it going, one poem, $20, the poem itself, plus a letter stating this is your original work, and I have the right to reproduce it in whole or in part. Let's see. Phelps goes, scientifically speaking, cats were not domesticated. National Geographic has a good documentary about this. I'm not surprised about that with National Geographic. Fabulous magazine, I just don't take the time to read any of it. Although, on the other hand, let's see if this is book one. Yep. This neat little encyclopedia. Some of you guys may well recognize it, but I am starting to read this whole set. And I think I can't tell, but I think there's somewhere around 26 volumes that I'm starting to read front to back. Once I get it read, I will ship it off to somebody else. But that's a set of encyclopedias that I had since I was a kid. I already read the medical encyclopedia. But that's essentially the way energy works. Now, tomorrow, what do we got? Tomorrow, but I think that was Macbeth. No, I know that was Macbeth. Tomorrow is the 26th. We are going to discuss how to cope with with an overloaded emotional overload. As in, when you get hit, you walk into a room and you get hit with so much emotion that you turn around, and either burst out laughing or you collapse in tears. Okay, how do you cope with that? How do you drain it off? Well, the short answer as far as draining it off, take your hand, palm down on anything that normally sits on the ground. Okay, and you feel that excess energy, that excess emotion flow out of your body, much like water out of a tap. Okay, that will help immensely. But we are hitting the 2-hour mark here, so I want to thank you all so very much for sharing your time with me today. I will be back again tomorrow. Okay, but until that's assuming I don't die or have a heart attack or something. But okay, Yeah, Raven just going, I run. Oh, Phil, the fire's doing great. It's had a lot to eat. It's had a lot to eat. It's had a real good workout. But realistically, they are starting to move. It's moved out of a lot of the residential areas, at least around me anyway. And it is turned and has where they're now moving people back into their homes and going in and checking for structural damage. So we are starting to heal from it a lot faster than the last time. Okay, but thank you so much for asking. That said, I'm going to bring this to a close. Until we meet again, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.